get on sound?
Yes.
Okay. Just talk about the experience today and having the next gen test open for fans, and it's free, and like what's going to be happening at the track for fans to attend.
Right. We are really pleased to welcome the NASCAR Cup Series next gen cars and drivers here to Homestead-Miami Speedway this fine afternoon. We're open to the public, and we've decided to invite all those that are interested, and most of them are ticket holders, hopefully. If they don't have tickets, we still have a few good tickets available. But we will be testing from noon to 7 p.m. And what we've done is opened up a lot of the social areas and some of the more unique offerings that fans can experience when they come down to the Dixie Vodka 400 on October the 23rd. So please feel free, go to homesteadmiamispeedway.com, register, and come on out for a wonderful afternoon of testing. You'll find it really interesting because most of all the playoff drivers are here, and there's a lot of gamesmanship and a lot of fine tuning that goes on. So hopefully they can come here on October the 23rd and clinch a spot in the Final Four at the Dixie Vodka 400.
Do you want to talk about too, like the testing on the track, how competitive Homestead is?
Well, that's a great point. The reason why we're getting such a great attendance from the team side and the driver's side is because our track is not only very unique, but probably 3/4 of the Cup drivers identify this as one of their favorite tracks, if not their favorite track. Reason being that we have variable banking, and so there's a lot of different preferred ways around the track. So depending on the characteristics of your race car, you can be fast on the top, the bottom, and the middle, and it really lends itself well to 2 and 3 wide racing. I think that we had more green flag passes at the Dixie 400 race last year than in most other races. So it's a very competitive track. It's also very unique, so it's a tall task for the engineers and drivers to dial in their cars.
Al, how delighted are you to not only have the race back at the end of the year like you did for so long, but do you see this venue as a possibility where it can actually host 2 races?
That's a great question. I know that NASCAR is really working hard on the schedule, and we're trying to go to new venues, and I think that there are going to be less and less tracks that have 2 race dates because we want to expand. An example being the Chicago Street Race next year in July, which is going to be fantastic. What I do see is that we're deep into the playoffs with a second race in the round of 8, third from the end. I'm more interested in positioning ourselves for an opportunity to host the championship race back here. And there may be a day, 6, 7, 8, 9 years from now, where NASCAR moves a championship around, very similar to what they do in the NFL or in the college football playoff scenario. So all we got to do is move back 2 weeks, and we have the championship, or move 2 weeks earlier and be in the round of 8. So yes, we certainly are looking for content, and we'd love to have a second race or maybe a standalone truck race or an ARCA race on the road course.
Now, I've covered Sebring in the past, and I think that's one of the most neat places to go a couple of times. And you guys were not that far away from Sebring in terms of location. First of all, it's a 2-part question. Tell me how much you like Sebring. I know that's obviously a big track here. And what was it like for you to have a race during the beginning of the year instead of normally toward the end of the year?
Right. First question. Sebring is very near and dear to my heart. I grew up at Sebring. I've attended races there and IMSA races in the mid-'70s and through on. It was kind of a pilgrimage that the family would always take spring break there. I can tell you, since I think 1958, they've always been the 3rd weekend in March. So
right.
It shows how I feel about Sebring, and Wayne Estes and the team do a phenomenal job. It's just what an icon and what a jewel. Arguably, between Le Mans, Sebring, and Daytona Rolex, you throw them up in there and decide which is the most desirable endurance race to win in the world. So Sebring is just, you can't say enough about the prestige, the importance, and the difficulty. There's many teams and drivers that'll tell you it's more difficult to run 12 hours at Sebring than it is to run 24 hours in Daytona because of the nature of the circuit and the roughness, et cetera. As far as timing goes, I think that to have a Cup race at any time of year is a privilege. It's an honor. We have to work really hard, and the business community in particular has been embracing what we do here at Homestead-Miami Speedway and the Dixie Vodka 400 weekend, because you'll see that in the future, the markets, the communities, the cities that are going to get awarded these Cup dates that are more and more coveted are going to be the communities that embrace NASCAR and embrace the Cup Series when they come to town. So it's very important that we get support from the fans. Of course, we want to see a full stadium, but the business community also has to play a large role in what we do here. As a matter of fact, we've been talking to Mayor Cava and the team at the Board of County Commission and the City of Homestead Mayor and Council about the fact that, you know, Super Bowls are very hard to come by and very competitive, and they have host committees and things like that. Well, we're starting to kind of work in that space, meaning a host committee, and have influencers and the leaders in business in this community be advocates and put resources against hosting a cup race. And if they see that, then NASCAR might be willing to reconsider and bring the championship back, if nothing else, every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, the only time that Sebring held the end of the year race was, I think, recently during COVID. And let me tell you, when I talked to the people there, they liked it during their time frame. They didn't like being held on the championship, and where that's become a customary thing with you guys, knowing you start in Daytona, but then you end up in Homestead.
That's right. It's you know, we are very, very fortunate that we live where most people come to vacation.
Right.
So, you know, the end of October, beginning of November, South Florida is a wonderful place to be. And there's a lot of traditional NASCAR fans that flock to Homestead and the South Florida area, Miami, the Keys, Fort Lauderdale. But you know what? A lot of the locals have kind of circled the end of October, beginning of November as NASCAR season in Miami. So, you know, we've drawn 65-70% of our folks locally, but the other 30% come in from out of state, and they put it on their list. You know, it's around Thanksgiving. They can come here, take in the race, go on a cruise, and there's a lot of reasons why it's a great place to be at that time of year.
Yeah, one last thing I forgot to ask you. What kind of a traffic do you get from the Keys? Do you get a lot of people that come up from Key West, Key Largo, or do you think a lot of it's more north?
No, well, certainly more is north for sure, but we do get a bunch of Monroe County residents that come up for the race. We know because of the traffic counts now. There's some fans that stay down there because if you talk to the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Hotel Association in Monroe County, they'll tell you that race weekend is one of their busiest weekends for the hotel and motel scenes. You know, so some folks had to stay as far as Isla Mirada because everything in Key Largo is booked with fans. But we get an awful lot of residents, you know. The fishing community, the outdoor people, those are NASCAR fans. A lot of the fishing guides and mates and folks that make their living on the water really enjoy being here with us on that weekend.
Al, you mentioned some of the social spaces. I want to talk a little bit about the beach and about the container bar and some of the new things that fans are going to get to experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. You know, the container bar, it's a place where you can have a drink and some food and drink, and we painted it up like some of the street artists do, so it's kind of a hip place. But the biggest plus up there is there's a deck that accommodates about 300 people with drink rails and high top tables. So if you're sitting in the grandstands, you can walk over without having to go down and back up, walk across a bit of a bridge, get a drink, and then just hang out, stand up, put your drink on a high top table, mingle with folks, interact, and it's a more of a social setting to take in the race. The beach, we're really proud of that. It's a really fun environment. We're putting a lot of resources there with DJs and entertainment and what have you. But I will tell you that it's probably the only place on the Cup Series schedule, and maybe in auto racing anywhere, where you can watch the race from the top of a paddleboard or a kayak. You know, if you're sitting on the water on a kayak, you can see the cars exiting turn 2 all the way down the back straight and run through turns 3 and 4 from a paddleboard or a kayak. And if not, they're on the beach, and there's cool beverages and folks enjoying themselves and going for a swim when it gets kind of warm. So it's a great experience. It's a pretty modest entry point. So to come and watch the Dixie Vodka 400 from our beach in the infield lake is a great opportunity, particularly for first-time fans. Right, they can come out, they can bring the kids to run around and hang out on the beach. And by the way, there's a NASCAR race going on around you.
Well, when you talk about the growth of the sport, expanding to different tracks, my old home track was Michigan International Speedway, and they had 2 races.
Yeah.
And I know that, I believe Phoenix does have 2, and you still have the 1.
Yeah.
And I think, Vegas has 1 or 2?
Vegas has 1. And they're reevaluating that from what I understand. I don't know for certain. I mean, there's so much that goes into the Cup Series schedule. But we'll see. They're really, really interested in getting into new markets. So there's some tracks that have 2 races that may not in the future.
So all the more reason you have to lobby that much harder to try to
Absolutely.
get two. Because again, if you have one during the spring and then one during toward the winter, that's a great boom for tourism as well as you guys.
It certainly is, absolutely. And so that's why we're looking at everything, whether it be, another series, another sanctioning body, or like I said, there's more and more road racing in the Cup Series. So these young drivers need to have an opportunity to road race. So one of the things I pitched was perhaps a standalone truck race and ARCA race in the spring on the road course. Very similar to what the Grand Am, the IMSA WeatherTech series used to do, where they'd run through the infield and then use turns 3 and 4 of the oval. So I think it would be very unique and would be very well received, and it'd be perfect to do right around spring break.
Well, would you ever consider bringing another Indy race back here? I know for a while you did, and I've actually covered a few. One of my best memories was talking to Sarah Fisher.
Yes, yeah. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, I do.
So Elio Salazar was AJ Foyt's driver.
Right.
And Sarah passed him at the end of the back
Right.
straight to finish second that year. And it's very famous, AJ getting on the radio and saying, "Elio, you just got passed by a girl." And it was kind of embarrassing for the driver, but there's no embarrassment in getting passed by Sarah Fisher, because she was as fast and as good a
Right.
driver as anybody. But yeah, we're looking at everything. We would like to have more content and more races now, as auto racing is kind of in a renaissance. Sports car racing is up, IndyCar racing is up, but most importantly, the Cup Series has just found a new batch of fans, evidenced by the Coliseum. I mean, they packed
Right.
the Los Angeles Coliseum, and from my understanding, 68 or 70% of the fans that were at the Coliseum were first-time NASCAR fans, first-time attending a Cup race live. And so that's the activity that we're focused on, really promoting and putting the Cup Series on a pedestal where it belongs.
Well, I'm sorry, one last thing. IndyCar is fair game. Is that correct? You would consider bringing it back?
We'll consider anything.
Al, a little bit different note. The next gen car. You not only are the track maestro here, but you also are a great observer of NASCAR. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen in the new next gen car, and both the good and the bad?
Can't say a lot bad. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? And there's been, more different winners. There's more passing, and in particular, I think the car's more durable. With the composite bodies versus the sheet metal, where they kind of touch or rub and the sheet metal would dent and maybe cut a tire, what have you. These carbon fiber composite bodies are more resilient, so they can kind of bang against each other a little bit more without doing damage to the car. So that leads to more competitive racing. And I think that the guys pushing the pedals will tell you that the car is really, really good. On the team side, it takes some getting used to, because they're old habits die hard, right? They're used to manufacturing. If they need something, they go and make it. Now they're relying on an outside supplier, but I do think that it's the right model. I think they found the secret sauce, so to speak. I mean, when you have teams, you just had Daniel Suarez here. They're a second-year team. Trackhouse is essentially a brand new team, and they're winning races, and they got 2 drivers in the playoffs. I think if you go back in history 2-3 years ago, there's 3 teams that won all the races. If you weren't driving a Hendrick car, a Penske car, or a car for Joe Gibbs, you had no shot. And now we have a lot of teams that have the opportunity to win and win championships, and it's opening up the field and the sport to a whole bunch of folks that are just as talented and just as deserving. They just didn't have the resources to build the best stuff and the little widgets and what have you. So now that everybody has access to top line and front line equipment, it's going to really further the career of a lot of these drivers and crew chiefs and engineers that can make these things work well without having to build it and make their own stuff.
Well, it kind of reminds you a little bit of the parity in the NFL. The more competitive drivers that there are, obviously, the better it is for your sport anyways.
Absolutely. And, for the sponsors, because in the past, if you were to attract a sponsor and they work their tail off to do so, and the sponsor's new to the sport and they come up and they run 18th every weekend, they're like, why am I doing this? But now you have a new sponsor to the sport, and it's much more parity, and they're getting a lot of airtime because they're running in the top 5 or they win races, then those sponsors will stay in the sport, and that's what we need.
Thank you, guys.
Anything else?
Thank you very much, Al. Appreciate you.
You got it, man.
This will be appearing on Fire Up Florida, by the way. Thank you very much.
You got it, man. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for being
you.
here. Good to see you again, man.
Good to see you.
You doing all right?
Yep, sure.